If you have heard about the concept known as the friend zone, you have probably heard about it in the form of controversies and really heated debates on the internet. I'm going to talk a bit about these controversies today, but first let's talk a bit about the concept itself, the idea of the friend zone. I'm going to talk a little bit about this concept and some related concepts to give it a bit of context. The word friend zone has two parts, friend and zone. Both parts are important. Friendship, that's one of the ways that people can relate to each other. Other ways are sexuality, romance, family, professional, and so on. In this context, friendship, sexuality, and romance are the most relevant ones, so they are the ones I'm going to focus on today. A zone is an area that is kept separate from the surroundings in general and from other zones in particular. Using this system, a friend zone would be friendship that is cut off from sexuality and romance. And I think most people who have been debating about this word would agree on this definition. Using the same system, a sex zone would be a sexual relationship walled off from friendship and romance, while a romance zone would be love walled off from sexuality and friendship. This sex zone is not complicated at all, it's just one night stands where people refuse to get to know each other at all. The romance zone, that's a bit more complicated. It could refer to someone protecting his or her own emotions, making it an all or nothing deal, refusing to have sex without becoming a serious couple first, maybe even refusing to hang out as friends. More like you have to take all of me or we don't be together at all. It could also refer to some kind of Madonna whore complex where, for example, a man don't see his wife as sexual because she's pure, or a woman don't see his man as sexual because he's a provider. Something like that. To confine relationships into zones like this, can that be said to be a good or a bad thing in general? I don't think so. I think it depends on two things. First of all, is it needed to zone off like that? And second, are everybody involved being honest with themselves and each other, emotionally and otherwise? I think zoning can be a very good idea if it's needed and done in an honest way. Of course, if it's not needed, it becomes an unnecessary restriction. Some people can be friends with benefit or go back and forth a bit between being just friends and dating. This can be a bit on a continuum, a sliding scale, and it's not a problem for them. It works just fine. But not everybody works this way. For some people, this doesn't work at all. And for some people, it works with other people, but these two individuals don't have the right chemistry for that kind of thing to work. In those cases, some zoning off might be needed. And of course, if one person is attracted and the other is definitely not attracted at all, then there might also be need for some zoning in one way or another. If you are clearly attracted to a friend who is clearly not attracted to you, then you should probably do some zoning yourself, not leave it for the unattracted person to do it for you. If you're just horny, you should put yourself in the friend zone, and if you're actually in love, you should put yourself in the romance zone instead of putting up with a lot of bullshit. Trying to exploit someone who you call a friend, that's a really shitty thing to do, sexually or otherwise. Trying to squeeze some sexual favors out of someone who isn't interested, that's a shitty thing to do regardless, but doing it to someone you call a friend, that's really low. And using someone who's in love with you, trying to squeeze non-sexual favors for nothing, That's a shitty thing too. And this is really where the controversies get started. People get fed up with manipulation, dishonesty, and bullshit from the problem they see, which is usually either people trying to exploit people sexually or people trying to exploit people non-sexually. But both problems exist. They are different sides of the same coin. Really shitty coin at that. In many cases, both problems exist at the same time. Two persons being dishonest with themselves and each other. In other cases, it's just one way or the other, but on the whole, both problems exist. They are usually discussed as gendered problem. People are talking either about men trying to get sexual favors from women, or about women trying to get non-sexual favors from men. And these are probably the two most common variants, but both problems exist regardless of gender and orientation. Friendship is not about gender, and it's not about sexuality or romance. When two persons are friends, it doesn't matter what gender they are or what sexual orientation they have. It doesn't matter if they are sexually compatible or not, because that's not what friendship is about. If they can combine the friendship with being friends with benefits or having a bit of dating or whatever, well, that's fun for them, but that's not really the point, is it? The thing is, a friendship needs to be mutual. You need to be able to talk with each other both ways, be there for each other. If you enter a friendship on bad terms, in bad faith, that's a bad thing. And bad terms, that's things like, okay, I'll put up with listening to her because maybe I'll get laid later. That's not friendship, that's manipulation. And likewise, if you go into a friendship thinking, oh, but I'm so cute, so he should be honored having to put up with my bullshit, that's not friendship either, that's manipulation as well. All in all, friend zoning yourself or one of your friends is a good thing to do if you do it for the right reasons. And being in the friend zone is not a bad thing at all if the friendship is real and neither of you is dishonest or madly in love.